he decided to join us. This is my little black cat. His name is Bab. Hi guys! So a little bit about me before we get into the crochet nitty-gritty. I am Grace, and I started crocheting in 2019. I think it was September or maybe October. I had just moved to Richmond, Virginia with my boyfriend. He got a fun new job after he graduated from college, and I decided I needed a new hobby. So I had learned about a couple years before that, when I was at college, how to crochet from one of my dorm mates, and she was a great teacher, but I just didn't really like it. I didn't get the hang of it. My tension was terrible. I couldn't tell my stitches apart. And I made a simple rectangle back then. I don't have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it. I might have thrown it away. It was with some really cheap acrylic. It was red, and I wasn't good at it back then in college, but I decided to give it another go in 2019, and I started making granny squares. I actually made, it wasn't a traditional granny square, it was a solid granny square, and I made, I think, about 40 of them, and I joined them into a blanket, and I gifted it to my mom for Mother's Day in 2020. And that was my first project, like my first real project, other than making squares and rectangles. I mean, I guess they're still squares, but anyway, I made a blanket. And so a little bit more about me. I have a cat named Bab. He just turned 2 a couple of days ago, and he's a little black cat. He might jump on my shoulder at some point. I don't know. He's a little rambunctious at the moment. He's running around the house screaming, so you might hear him. And then I have a 6-year-old husky. Huskies are great. So he probably won't see him, but I can throw up a picture if you want to see him. And then let's get into it, I guess. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the crochet. So the first project I have to show you guys today is a project I just finished, and it is this Tunisian simple stitch scarf. I made it out of some alpaca yarn I had gotten at a fiber festival near me. I actually have the label still. It's from the Alpaca Yarn Company. You can see that. Where am I? There we go. So it's from the Alpaca Yarn Company. The color is Espiral. It's worsted weight. It's 100% alpaca, and there's 165 yards per skein, and I bought 4 of them, and I was able to make 2 scarves, one for me and one for my boyfriend. So now we have matching scarves. This scarf is the one I just finished for me. It is about 7 inches wide, and it's, I think, 76 inches long. The one I made for my boyfriend is 6 inches wide, and it looks exactly like this. And it is, I think, 78 inches long. I might have gotten this backwards, but either way, they're long, they're big scarves, and they'll keep us nice and warm in the winter. We currently live in Virginia, so it doesn't get too cold here in the winter. We would like to move eventually, maybe over the summer, maybe in the fall. We don't know quite where yet, but somewhere fun. We like the mountains. We currently live in the mountains in Southwest Virginia. So anyway, that's a random tangent. But that was my first project that I had finished. I turned it into like a little cinnamon bun looking thing to easily store it. We have like a whole pile of our winter stuff that I still need to put away, actually. So that's my first project. My second project is a blanket I'm making for my sister. It's a corner to corner. Can you see it very well? Can't see the whole thing, but it's a corner to corner blanket. I'll show you a little closer so you can see the stitches. Yeah. So it's a corner to corner blanket. I have 6 balls of the Caron Skinny Cakes. This is a discontinued color. It's called Bluebells. So I'm really sad that they don't have the color anymore. I think it looks gorgeous, which is why I have 6 of them. So they're gonna be a blanket for my little sister for Christmas. And I'm really excited. So my plans for this one is I just finished up the first ball, so I have 5 left. And in order to get it done by Christmas time, I would like to get 1 more ball done this month, if possible. They are 795 yards each, so we'll see. I need to move this up in like priority to probably the first slot. I try to work on 2 or 3 projects at a time so that when I get bored of one, I can just go between 2 or 3 and I can constantly cycle through my projects so that I get them done faster and I get them done, because if I have too many at once, it's kind of overwhelming and they don't get done. So I try to have 2 or 3 WIPs at one time. So that's one of them, and I'm really excited. I really like how the color plays out on the diagonal. I think it looks kind of like a gradient, kind of like a stripe, and I just really like this yarn. I'm kind of wishing I would keep it for myself, but it's for my sister. She loves it as well. So that will be good. And then my last project is in this bag. It's another blanket. I'm a sucker for blankets. I love making blankets. This bag is one I made to hold my blanket projects so that it can be big enough to hold all of the yarn or most of the yarn and the blanket, hopefully at the same time, depending on like what point in the blanket I'm in, and also like how big the yarn is. So this one's kind of falling apart. It's a Caron Anniversary Cake from when they first came out. So it's one of the original colors, I think. Yes, here we are. The color is Pelican. Can you see that? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. The color is Pelican, and it's 1,061 yards per skein, and I have 2. So it'll make a decent, like, throw size blanket, not quite twin. I'll show you the actual blanket so far. I'm using the lemon peel stitch, which is alternating single and double crochets. Can you see that? And so this colorway goes from purple, like a dusty purple, to like almost a navy to white, and then just repeats the colors up. And I think, if I remember correctly, the length so far is only 13 inches, and I'm maybe a third of the way through the ball, so it should be a decent sized blanket. And the width is the width of the top of my queen size bed, which is about 60 inches. So it should be decent. I might need to try and find more of this yarn at some point to try and make it a little bit bigger, but I want to see how ideally how the first skein works up, because then you can double the size and get an estimate of how big it will be, and then I'll do the second skein and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so those are my current projects I have on the hooks. I also recently spun my first, I guess, hank of yarn. and I'll throw a picture of that on the screen up here. I did not do very well. It looks more like an art yarn, if anything, which is when you intentionally make thicker and then thinner, like bubbles of yarn. I didn't do that on purpose. I probably shouldn't have made it a 2-ply yarn. I probably should have kept it as just like a single, but I did 2 singles and plied them as a double ply yarn. So it came out really thick. I actually had to go out and buy a special hook so I could crochet it into a little square. I have like a 4x4 double crochet square that I made out of it, so it didn't go very far because I made it really thick. And I had to use a size 15mm hook. I don't remember what the letter is, but it was a 15mm hook, and it only got me, I guess, 16 double crochets and then 3 single crochets at the top. It looks really funky and like, yeah, but I will get better. I have another roll lag, which I'm going to hopefully spin either this week or next week, and I'll try really hard to make it a lot thinner. First my singles thinner, and then also when I ply it double, also make that thinner. Yeah, I definitely want to practice my spinning. I think it would be a really fun hobby to get into, just because you can spin your own yarn and you can make it look however you want, and it would be fun to take some of my dog's fur and spin it into some yarn. I have been collecting his fur that I've brushed out of him for about a year now, and I really want to spin it and make like a scarf or maybe a hat. So that once he crosses the rainbow bridge, hopefully in another 6 years, because he's only 6, that we'll have like a little memento of his. It would also be really cool down the line to get into needle felting, because then I can needle felt like a little miniature of him, and I think that would be so cool. But at this point, I don't know if that's going to happen. I really want to try spinning his fur, but in order to do that, I want to get good at spinning in general so that I can make a decent yarn out of his fur. And I also need to learn how to process it all, because right now it's just like big fluff balls in a bag in my closet. So yeah. And fun fact, dog yarn is a thing, kind of. Not a very well-known thing, but it is a thing, and it's a lot warmer than even wool is, because the undercoat of like at least double coated dogs is a very insulating layer, and Roz is a husky, so he has a triple coat, and hopefully it'll be really warm. It's kind of what I'm going for. Also just like a fun memento of his. So yeah, next we'll get into project plans, and I'll tell you what I have planned for the month of June and kind of what my plan is to get these 2 blankets done by Christmas for my little siblings. And yeah, so we'll get into that in a minute. Okay, so let's get into project plans. So my plans for the rest of June is to, 1, get one of these done in my little sister's blanket. I want this one gone, so I only have 4 left out of the 6, so that I can have it done by Christmas. And then I want to get the rest of the first ball of yarn done for my little brother's blanket. I have probably 2/3 of it left. It's a little funky looking at the moment. I pulled from the outside and it's pulling apart a little bit because I just pulled it out of the bag it was sitting in. And then I might try and start another project. I'm not quite sure which one I want to do yet. I was thinking maybe the AdventUrous scarf by Toni Lipsey. I have a 12 mini skein set from Montana Crochet, and I think it's her 2021 like mystery mini. There's 12 of them. I think that's what it was. I think that's what I bought. And I think it would be really fun. I can throw a picture of like the mini skeins up on the screen. It goes from green to like blue to brown, and I think it would make the cutest scarf. And it would be the perfect size and the perfect amount of yarn because the AdventUrous scarf calls for 13 minis. So it will be a little bit shorter, but the pattern is a really long scarf. So if it's one mini skein or 20 grams shorter, it won't be that big of a difference. And then I was also thinking that maybe I can make another Juniper cowl. I have made one in the past with a bunch of scrap yarn, but I have some minis from Emma's Yarns that I bought when my boyfriend and I went into North Carolina, and they are the cutest. They're like so fun, and they have little pops of color all throughout the yarn. I'll throw a picture on the screen so you can see that. Those are really cute. So I was thinking maybe a Juniper cowl with those, but there's only 7, and the Juniper cowl I think calls for 10 mini skeins of 20 grams. So might make a different project. I'm still on the fence about that one, so I probably won't make that one this month. And then the other project I have floating around in my head is a shawl. So I have a cake of yarn from MyMelody. It's an Etsy shop. I'll link her down in the description box below. She makes the most beautiful gradient cakes, and you can still buy this one. It's called Lights in the Night. And I was thinking about making a shawl of some kind with it. I'm not sure what pattern yet. I just am in love with the yarn, and I really want to make something like wow with it. And I really like shawls. I wear them quite a lot actually. So I think that would be beautiful. I think the size I got is the 950 meters, so it's a little over 1,000 yards or something like that. So I'm not sure what pattern though. So honestly, I might just work on the blankets and then maybe spin some yarn for the rest of the month, or I might cast on or start either the AdventUrous scarf or a Juniper cowl or maybe a shawl. Not sure what pattern though. I'll show the different yarns on the screen, and if you have any suggestions for a shawl pattern for the Lights in the Night gradient cake, I would love to hear, as long as they're crochet or Tunisian crochet. I also like Tunisian crochet, so that could be cool. Or let me know if you have any preference for what I make. I would love to hear if you guys have any ideas of what I should make. Also thinking maybe a tank top, but I don't know. I'm not sold on anything yet. So yeah, those are my project plans. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on my first podcast. I'm super stoked to be able to share my love of all things yarny and crochet related. And if you want to hear about any of my other crafting escapades, I would love to share that with you guys as well. And if you want me to keep making podcasts or have any suggestions or questions, comments, concerns, let me know down in the comment section below. And if you have any ideas for what I should make or any suggestions for what I should make on any of my projects or with any of my yarn, please let me know down below. I'm super stoked to be able to be a part of you guys' day today. Do something fun, do something you enjoy, make a fun project, and let me know about it down in the comments. So thank you. Have a good day. Bye.